Hey folks, welcome to the Flipside. Got a special treat for you today, the Sixth Realm. Since time immemorial, a thick toxic fog lingered over the mysterious continent to the northwest of the Five Realms. A dwarven merchant ship sailing to Merchant's Cove noticed that the poisonous miasma surrounding the land had been lifted. Word quickly made its way to Queen Tabitha, who organized excursions to this new land. What they found shocked them. This was their ancestral homeland, and the six races used to live in peace. Peace and harmony had returned to the Five Realms, and thus the ancient curse has been lifted. Welcome to the Sixth Realm. The Sixth Realm is a fantasy city-building exploration game that utilizes action points, designed by Matthew Dunstan, Seth Jaffe, and Drake Villarreal. It boasts artwork by the amazing Mihailo Dmitrievsky, aka the Miko, and is being crowdfunded by Final Frontier Games. The game takes place over 3 years, with each year broken into 7 rounds. In each round, the players will each take one turn, which is split up into 7 steps. During your turn, you'll spend action points to improve your position on the Stone Council and perform tasks at each chosen guild. How many action points you use during your turn will be determined by how well you level up your guilds throughout the game. In a Merchant's Guild action, you can move the cart between the various guild crests in clockwise or counterclockwise directions to refresh or gain resources or level up your guild. The Builder's Guild action uses a tile placement mechanism where you can begin laying the foundations for small, medium, or large buildings in preparation for your people's return to the Sixth Realm. The Adventurer's Guild actions utilize a track movement mechanism with which your party can delve deep into the caverns of the dungeon to find artifacts and seek to learn more secrets about your ancestral past. Actions at the Navigator's Guild employ a network and route building mechanism generally concerned with building bridges across the continent to rebuild travel and commerce and setting up towers to ensure traveler safety along the way. Historians Guild actions also wield a track movement mechanism in which the translator meeples can be moved along their tracks as they are hard at work deciphering and translating your ancestors' literature, unlocking the traditions that will undoubtedly help you in the future. Scribes Guild actions are all about ensuring that your travels and findings can be chronicled for future generations by making sure you have enough ink to carry out certain tasks. And finally, the Queen's Castle area is where players will be able to fight for her favor on the Queen's Ambition track and place feat tiles, which will determine how many victory points various aspects of the game will be worth at game's end. Each player's turn will begin with 2 optional steps, taking your guild bonus, and then performing any free actions that you're able and want to carry out. Then, you'll select a guild from one of the 3 available that you wish to conduct your actions in this turn. Once you've selected the guild action you wish to perform this turn, you'll calculate and gain the appropriate number of action points you will have based on the level of your guild and any resources you may want to spend. You'll then carry out as many actions as you're able to with the action points you have available to you. After you're finished spending your action points, you may then perform as many free actions as you are able and wish to perform. Finally, in the cleanup step, you'll refill any pieces you used on the board and move your action point marker back to the 0 space. Once all players have taken their turn in the round, the champion wheel is rotated to the next guild, and all players take another turn following the same turn order. After the 6th position in the Stone Council has been reached and resolved, the player who acquired the Queen's favor that round chooses which guild will be activated again by all players. At the end of that 7th round, a new year begins. Since the actions you'll take in each of the guilds are the meat of the game, I figured I would briefly describe each one in slightly more detail. The Merchants Guild allows you to use your action points to move the cart around the area in either a clockwise or counterclockwise direction. Stopping at the various guild crests allow you to do one of 3 different things related to that guild crest. For 1 action point, you can refresh a resource associated with the guild crest. For 2 action points, you can take a flip book action, which levels up the guild on your player board. And for 3 action points, you can purchase another resource tile of the color associated with the guild crest. The Builders Guild allows you to place a small, medium, or large building foundation in the area for 2, 3, or 4 action points respectively, and perform all the effects covered by the foundation tile. Then place one of your buildings on that tile and spend either 1 action point to perform the row or column effect, or 2 action points to perform both. The Adventurers Guild allows you to use your action points to move your torch a space forward for each action point spent and perform the effects of the new room. Many of the effects in the dungeon are also in other areas, but gaining artifacts and torch scroll effects are only found in the dungeon. Gaining a visible artifact simply means you take one from the guild banner and replace it with a random one from the bag. Gaining a hidden artifact means that you draw 3 from the bag, choose one, and return the others to the bag. The torch scroll effects can only be performed once you've entered the room and spent an available ink cube from your player board into the dungeon scroll area in the middle of the dungeon. The Navigators Guild permits the usage of points to either build bridges or towers on the map area of the board. For a build a bridge action, you must spend 1, 2, or 3 action points to place your first, second, or third bridges. And if you have at least 1 tower on your player board, you can also take a build a tower action by spending 2 action points and placing your tower on an empty city space that is adjacent to a completed route. In the Historians Guild, players can spend points to move translators or take a tradition action. For 1 action point each, translators can be moved to a different space on their row or column, activating the effect on which they land. And for a number of action points dictated by the spaces at the bottom of your player board, tradition tiles can be purchased and added there, making their effects available to you in subsequent turns, if you choose to activate them with ink cubes or envoys. And finally, the Scribes Guild has 2 actions that you'll find very useful: the gaining or removing ink and removing all ink actions. Players can spend 1 action point and either gain or remove exactly 1 ink cube. Additionally, players can spend 3 action points to remove all their ink cubes from their scrolls and or traditions. The game will end once the 7th round of the 3rd year is completed. Players will then calculate the additional victory points they earned in the Builders Guild area, scoring 1 point for each house of theirs on a completed row and or column. They will also score points for all the artifact tiles they acquired in the dungeon area. They will then score points for the relics they collected in the Navigators Guild area based on how far up they were able to climb the Navigator track. Then they'll gain victory points for the feat tiles and challenge discs they placed in the Queen's Castle. And finally, they'll gain 1 victory point for each uniquely colored envoy in the plaza area of their player board. Whomever has the most points is the winner. In the case of a tie, the player furthest to the right on the Queen's Ambition track wins. So if anything I've mentioned here today strikes your fancy or piques your interest, I'm sure the fine people at Final Frontier Games would appreciate your heading over to check out their crowdfunding campaign that's live right now to see what they have to offer you. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoy this content, please consider hitting those like and subscribe buttons, and we'll hope to continue seeing you right here on the Flipside. Take care.